everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee. I'm Joey Evans.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
Today we're taking a look at a fairly large release this year. Stonemaier games often drop with an explosion of surprise, but this one he's been talking about for more than half a year now. This is Vantage, which is a word that's often not used as a noun.
Right. Yes, it's usually described as an ad.
Yes. Okay, anyway. So this is a game, it's a cooperative storytelling game in which you're all going to crash onto an alien planet and then have adventures and accomplish some sort of mission. It's been worked on for a long time. This box is, I'm hesitant to have this box sideways like this because there's so many cards in it, so I'm going to lay it down and then I'm going to show you how to play it. There's a lot going on in Vantage, and I can't really show you everything or much at all without spoiling it. But I'm going to show you some, just so you can kind of get an idea. There's a book of secrets. I don't dare show you anything in here, but this is where you start. Well, actually, no. You start here on the back of the book of Vantages, and I won't show you this either. It has maps and other things inside it. But you'll start here, and guess what? Your ship is about to crash. Here you'll pick your character. You'll pick your mission. You can roll dice to get these randomly. And then you're going to land on the planet in a random location. This board of sorts is where everything will start. Each player will have health, morale, and time trackers here. And what you're trying to do is not let any of these get to zero. You can start on pretty much any number you want. The higher you start, the easier the game is. You also have a bunch of challenge dice here. And a couple other things. One of the things I mentioned was having a mission. So here would be an example mission. Amass a priceless location. Have at least $30 money in one player's grid and or reserve. If you do so, you read this in the Book of Secrets to see what happens. And there are several missions that you can get and you're trying to accomplish them. You also might find a destiny over the course of your game and you can accomplish that too, but that's just something that's going to happen to you. Each player is going to get a character. You pick a character at the beginning of the game, and as the game progresses, you'll have a grid. Stonemaier Games actually sells these grids separately. I did not think to get them, but you'll build a grid around you. You might get some items. You might find some aliens. The game calls them sentients, and you'll put them around in this grid. And this is going to matter because you're going to use this grid to take actions and do some dice mitigation. There is an entire box full of locations and items that you can get. I am going to show you one innocuous location. Let's say you're at this location. On your turn, and you just go around the table taking turns, you have a choice. You can take one of the 6 actions at your location. You can move away from your location. You can take an action on your character card. You can take an action that's showing on your mission. And if you have any aliens with you, you can take an action on them. Now, all actions are done the same way. Specifically, let's talk about a location. When you do an action at a location, you pick which of these. Each of them is a color, but there's also a word there, a keyword. So, for example, blue here is steer, spy, etc. When you take that location, let's say, for example, I say, I'm going to spy. Another player is going to take the purple book that matches that because it's purple. And you don't even have to use these books. Rules Pop has a little app and you can just plug the numbers in and read it off an app, which I find to be tremendously easier. But you'll go through this book, and when you go through the book, you'll see there's little numbers here, and you'll just find the number that matches this card. When you do that, the number there will show you a goal that you're going for. In this case, it's 2. And what that means is you automatically accomplish this test. So here I'm going to spy on a sailboat, but I'm going to see what happens to me. So when it happens, I'm going to roll 2 dice. Now the game comes with different tokens, and you'll start the game with a few of these tokens, and you might get some more as the game goes by. So if I had any purple tokens, I could discard them to lower the number of dice I need to roll. In fact, I might even roll 0. Otherwise, I'm going to roll these dice. Now, when you roll the dice, various things are going to happen. First of all, the best thing to roll are these minus signs here. And you're just basically going to place it up here to get rid of them. If you roll this symbol, You're going to put them back in a challenge dice pool, which means you don't get to refresh the dice pool. But the things you're really worried about watching or rolling are hearts, stars, and time. Because if you don't find a way to mitigate that die, you will have to move the matching tokens down on this track. Now, there are ways to mitigate these dice. Your character, for example, this character here, Ariel the engineer, if it's a yellow test here, she can put any die there. And in fact, that die gives her a boost token. These boosts are cubes, and you can spend them. Each card has different ways to spend these boosts. You'll start with 2, and so she has a third. This lets her re-roll a challenge die. But she has to spend a cube to do that. Or she can also always spend 2 of these boost cubes to get a money or to get one of these blue tokens. But by putting a die here, you keep it safe. Now, it's going to be stuck there until someone needs to roll dice and there's no dice left in the challenge pool. And at that point, all the dice come off characters and can be used again. You can even help other people. Here, she can always put a time symbol, even on someone else's turn. That's what that lightning bolt means. Sometimes it's very specific. Like this one here, you can put a die in this spot, but only if it's a red test, and a red test has attack and target. And you can see on this card, the word is force. So it wouldn't work on that. Or on this one here, this one allows hunt, but it's not hunt. But this one, it is a red test, but you have to pay a boost cube to put it on here. And these are interact, and you can put cubes on there. So the more cards you have in front of you, the more dice you can mitigate. After you're done with the test, it will tell you what happens. It could give you an item. It could do all sorts of crazy random things will happen. The thing is, when you go to a location and do the test, that's the only time you can interact with that location for the rest of the game. So you're only ever going to see 1/6 of these. Another player might end up at the same location. Unlikely, but it's possible. And they can do something as long as it doesn't directly do something you did. Let's say you burned this boat up. Then they could not then look at the boat or what have you. Once you're done with the location, you can move to another location. This one says if I go to the west, I'd go to location 447, east 341, north or south are stars. I don't know what's going to happen. And the book here, there's a blue book, depart, and you will also roll dice to move. If it's just to a number, like if I just want to go to 341, which incidentally is on the other side of this card, I would just roll a single dice. But sometimes if you're swimming across an ocean, you might be rolling 5 dice to take a test. Like I said, you can also do these on your character card. So if I say I'm going to master, and then the person will look up 1439 and do another test. And that's the whole game. You're just going to be doing test after test after test, picking actions. You're trying to accomplish your goal. How do you accomplish that? You'll find out as the game goes by. You might get money, you might get tokens. Sometimes you'll need to roll for a random skill. There are other secrets I don't want to spoil, but they're essentially mini games that you can find and get involved with. And that's how you play Vantage. Okay, so this box is heavy. It is chock full of cards. The amount of content in this game is insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I want to point out a couple things, though. I wish I had gotten the boards. So you can buy an extra set of boards that have the player character in the middle.
So you have the cards
and a grid of cards around them. I know it's dumb, but I really like that a ton better, and it's one of the things I'm sad I didn't get. I played with someone else's set, and I was like, man, these are so much better using these boards.
Yeah. I think one of the strengths of this game is that it feels fairly contained for the most part, right? You're only ever looking at one perspective card at a time. You don't have this ever-growing, just creeping kind of map around everything. But yeah, that does help kind of contain your grid a little bit more.
Yeah, I do have the boards, and I agree they're not necessary, but they certainly are nice. I mean, it just kind of keeps everything in its place, so to speak.
All right, I want to say I really love this game. I'm going to put that out there right now. But I'll start my one small negative on the game is I felt this is a really cool world, really neat art, and it's an immersive world. But I was pulled out a couple times by I felt that the aliens were lackluster, partially because of their insistence on using the word sentient, which is only ever used by most people as an adjective,
Right.
not as a noun.
Like Vantage.
Yeah, like Vantage. But it would be like the sentient. And then I look at the picture, and some of the aliens, I just wish they'd given them maybe some species, like the Ugaba,
Right.
the hairy Ugaba says this, or it just, when you're being read the story sometimes, it'd be like the sentient says this, and the sentient, and I'm like, oh, they're talking about an alien. And I get that for some people, maybe alien has some connotations in real life, and that's why they didn't use it. I know this is a minor thing, but the word is used so much. Sentient is like the number one used word in this thing. So that would occasionally, I'm just like, oh, we're talking about an alien.
Yeah, it didn't bother me as much, but I would have no problem with them naming them as long as you're not the one naming them, Tom. Sorry. The one quibble, because I'm going to come right out too, since you kind of laid your cards on the table, so to speak, your 1,000 cards or however many are in this box. I also really, really like this game. My negative to it is one that is thematic in a sense, in that the way the game is structured, and you may have mentioned this in the overview, Tom, each session of the game is its own kind of distinct play session, and you can play the game with different groups, with the same group. It doesn't really matter. Every time you play it, it's one distinct session, and you cannot get past the idea that if you are playing the game more than once, you're going to have information about the planet you land on from your previous game sessions. And so there's a little bit of a thematic disconnect there that I have, whereas you're supposed to be crash landing on this planet and everything is supposed to be new to you, and that's just not really the case functionally when you've played the game multiple times. It's not game breaking by any means to me, but that's probably my biggest issue with the game.
But for that, there's so much content. Like, I think I might have seen the same location twice at one point, but even then, you're only allowed to do one thing per location. So I've only seen 1/6 of what that location has. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of this, I don't know. I just find that there's a huge amount of content, and I just like that weird. There's like a weird alien thing that you're talking to, or a computer or something, that he puts these past memories. I'm like, I feel like I've been here before. So that actually doesn't bother me.
I guess I suppose it has a little bit of that sleeping gods type thing, whereas you venture through, you kind of reset, and you're like, oh, I know a few things now. I think that, I don't know, to speak to the strengths of this game, because I will also come out and say I probably dislike it the most of everyone at this table. Is just my supposition here. I think that it's a very inspiring amount of content, and the times that I've played through it, there's so much content that not only am I not afraid of seeing the same stuff again, but I'm also never sure where I actually am at any given time. I think the geography of this game kind of eludes me, unfortunately.
That's my big. I do like. There's a lot I like about this game. I didn't think we were starting with a negative thing, but the big thing is the randomness. There's a lot of randomness. There's so much randomness in the draws a lot of times, whether it's quests or whatever. It makes the Magic 8-Ball seem linear. It's really like you pull, like, at one point I didn't get a quest for 2 hours, and by round we got 2 or 3.
But that is not necessarily randomness. It's pseudo-randomness to you. Like, the planet isn't random. The planet's the same every time.
Fine, the cards are random.
The cards aren't random. You will find the same things at the same places every time.
I know, but as far as like getting objectives, when your objective is to find a quest and you take 2 hours or 2.5 hours, you can't find one, that gets a bit tedious.
See, this is where we highly disagree, because I don't care.
And that is a huge part. He has a point, because it is like you compare it once to Tales of Arabian Nights, which you do kind of wander around. The difference, I think, with games like that, at least I'm going up a story or destiny track. There's some sort of movement in the progress of the game.
But you don't feel like you have progress by building the cards around you?
I do not. But I'm also not the type of person that played Myst and things like that enjoys the exploration. I think people are going to look for different things in games. Some people look to just explore, just have a fun time exploring the game. Other people are going to look for an objective in a game. So I think those people are going to struggle to enjoy this as much to people that just enjoy the journey as opposed to those who enjoy the destination.
Journey before destination.
Yeah, destination before it's journey. I need to at least know where I'm going.
You're out of Bridge 4.
I have a little rebuttal to what Joey is saying there. So I understand where you're coming from, but the element of that game that I think may get overlooked is that, you've got the basic actions. What are there, 6 of them? And then 6 or 7. And then within those actions, at each location, you're going to have a thematic version of those basic actions. And it's really important to pay attention to what those specific actions at each location say. If you're really looking for direction, there are oftentimes prompts that basically lead you in that direction. Help, ask, scan, things along those lines. If you really are at a place where you feel stuck, you should be focusing less on picking up the shiny thing and more on, okay, let me get my bearings first, and then I can worry about what the shiny things are. Also, on the actual mission itself that you're given at the beginning of the game, you can take the actions on that mission card, and they're really designed to give you some kind of direction. They kind of dissuade you from doing it early on because then, you are kind of given a path very early. And if you want, a little bit more guided way, you can do it that way. I personally choose to do that only when I feel like I'm like, okay, I've kind of looked around enough. I really want to get to the meat trying to finish this up. Then I might go to those missions if I haven't already gotten a quest or something along those lines. So I do think that there are ways that the game can help you, but you have to kind of look for those prompts.
Oh, sorry. Shortly, I agree completely. And that's why I started more of the second play and things like that. I started looking for that kind of progress marker to move forward. And you can find it sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't seem as obvious. Like, for example, I found an abandoned rowboat one time, and I'm on the shoreline, nobody around, and it said one of my options is to greet. I'm like, I don't understand. Am I greeting the abandoned rowboat? So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and see. And then it's like, you see a crew member or whatever. So a lot of times you have to take a leap to get to one of those 6 or 5 options you have. I do see what you're talking about, though. If you randomly go through, you're going to have a random encounter. But I also think there's some randomness even if you choose where you want to go.
I had the opposite experience of what Mike is describing on my first play, right? And it's one of those things where as I was looking for those keywords associated with the types of actions, it still was leading me nowhere. I was trying to find a quest to do anything, a quest keyword kind of card. And I spent 2 hours running a tavern, meeting people, flirting with people, like everything I could possibly do to try to get these, pull something out of this in forests, in cities, in tavern. I owned a tavern for about 6 rounds. It was such an open-ended experience. I know this game has the opposite philosophy of rails, of guardrails, but I thought it was so freeform that if you are the type of player looking to complete the objective at all, there was nothing on that one. Even doing the main actions on that objective card led me nowhere closer to having some sort of accomplishment feeling. So other plays have been different from that, but a few of them really just were wide open, nothing happening for a while.
As a side note, I'm a little discouraged with how easily my wife flirts with everything in this game. But see, the thing is, you mentioned Miss. That really is kind of where I'm at with this.
Yeah.
Like, if you open that book of Vantages, every once in a while you get to open it and you see a map. I was thrilled to look. I looked at that map for a long time and figured out exactly where I was based on that map. And that was just neat to me, trying to figure out where I am. And then some of the maps will be like, there's a treasure buried over here. I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna go find that. And just slowly piecing this world together. I feel like this is where I like the multiple plays, Mike, because I feel like each time I play, I'm discovering more of the world and more of the mini games. I don't want to spoil these for you, but you're going to run into some of the same stuff as time goes by. And now I'm like, ooh, I know what that is. Let's do it. This is how that mini game works. There's puzzles, like escape room stuff in the game. There's a lot of that stuff, and for me, it's that sheer sense of discovery. And I really think overall that's where the two different divergent views come into play, is that do you want to have a focus? And I just don't care. Give me that objective. I'll get to it when I get to it, but I will just play. But this is how I play Skyrim. I'll never finish that main quest, probably. I just am like, ooh, what's over there? And I go do it.
And that's a big thing. I mean, I can see the allure of this game for people that just want to explore, because that's what this game is all about, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit the nail on the head, Tom. That I think is where we're seeing the convergence even among the four of us, and I think that we are a microcosm of what you're going to see out there with the public when they encounter this game, is that some people like you and I, Tom, love exploration. It's one of my favorite things in games, and I think that this game is tailor-made for those people who love exploration. They're less concerned with, give me a series of objectives that I have to complete, this first, then this first, then this first. I got my stuff done. Yay, I finished. It's not really that type of a game. It doesn't even really, in a lot of cases, have a clear ending point. I mean, sometimes it does, but you have to kind of be okay with that. And if that's not the type of experience that you value in games, you're probably not going to have as positive of an experience as maybe you and I do. So I do think that it's valuable that we have these different perspectives here, because I think that that's going to be the experience of people, is that they're going to love the exploration, they're going to not love the exploration, they want to know what to do.
Before we jump to the final thoughts, I do want to talk about the skill check system.
That's what I wanted to mention.
Rolling dice, because it's the main focus of this game. And this is a comparison to other games. Sometimes, let's talk like Tainted Grail and
Seventh
Continent, maybe less so, but Tainted Grail and what's the one we were just talking about?
Sleeping Gods.
Sleeping Gods.
You go through and then something happens and you're like, okay, pause the game. Here comes this big thing.
Right.
And in this game, you always succeed, which I've never seen really in a game before.
I like that a lot.
But the moving the dice around, I thought was a fun method, and it also never feels overwhelming. Like at one point I was like, I'm going to go north, and they're like, you're swimming across the ocean. And I was like, well, I'm dead. Roll 5 dice. I'm like, oh, I can handle that. I'm going to probably lose a few things, but it's not so bad.
There's a lot of mitigation, a lot of control. It's a fun mini game. There's a lot of excitement that comes when you roll a bunch of those die faces that you just immediately discard to no disadvantage. It has a lot of those standout moments in the middle of this really, really strong exploration. I've sounded very negative thus far, but I do want to highlight that, it never stops. The pace of this game is really quick. On your turn, if you're moving, good, you find the new area, next player's turn. They do a check. They do something that's fairly involved in this game. Their turn is also quick. It never really grinds to a halt on anyone's turn, I don't think.
It's also not huge amounts of text. In between. There's small paragraphs. My only caveat is the game does go to 6, and that's never happening. No. I think 3 was a very good sweet spot for me, because you are kind of sitting there waiting for, if you're going to play 6, you're going to wait for 5 people to take their turns. Even with speedy turns, it's still a bit.
Yep. To mention that I love that about this as far as the skill checks, because games like Sentiental, as far as like they hit you in the face, even like Lord of the Rings, Journey's Middle Earth or whatever, where you want to explore, but the game smacks you and say, pay attention. This one just lets you explore, and that skill check always falling forward and doing that, it's great,
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to mention that I love the card system too, as far as being able to put things back where they come from. That is just so brilliant. It takes that tear down and makes it really quick. Now that you're putting things back where they go after you explore, that right there was one of my favorite mechanics that they put in this.
Yeah, that was something I'll go ahead. Do you want me to go ahead and start with final thoughts, Tom?
Sure.
Okay.
Start on a high note.
Yeah, what's that?
Start on a high note.
Okay. Joey, what you mentioned was something I was going to bring up during my final thought, so thank you for that segue. For a game of this scope and magnitude, the amount of cards, which could easily be overwhelming, I cannot believe how quick it is to set up and tear down. A very simple system of being able to kind of, since you only have one card location at a time, you just have a card for where you are right now, and then you just kind of slot back into the card, and it's just so simple, so easy. There's not a lot of that, and I appreciate that.
Hey, Mike,
it's a game.
Quick, before you continue, I do want to insert here, I cannot emphasize enough that if you're playing this game, get the Rules Pop online app that lets you type in the number and the color of each thing. It makes it so much faster. You can take all those books and put them aside, and it brings up just a paragraph. It's amazing. I will never not use it.
That's news to me. I have not tried that, Tom, but I definitely
You'll
will.
like it a lot.
Yeah, I know.
It brings up the paragraph. It fades out the text. You can't even read it. And it just tells you the test. Then once you're done with the test, you press it and it fades the text in. It's really cool.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty great, actually. I like that because this is tendency we have where even if we're trying not to look down, I think as human beings, we're almost physically incapable. But anyway, so setup and tear down is a breeze. The scope and the scale of this game is really almost mind-boggling. I know I mentioned as a negative there's that little bit of a thematic disconnect, and it's just it's the idea of, okay, I'm going to this planet for the first time, but I have some previous knowledge. That's fine. That's like I'm quibbling here because I don't have many negatives for this game. I think it is just outstanding. It's somewhere like you take a game like Lands of Galzer, right, which is as open-ended as this, but not nearly as vast and expansive. And you take a game like Sleeping Gods, which is as vast and expansive as this, but has more mechanically that kind of gets in the way of the exploration. And for me, the draw of this game is the exploration, the simplicity of the interaction points, the rule set. I do think that we've mentioned a couple of caveats that people want to think about when they're wondering if this game is for them. One of them is that we're calling it a cooperative game, and it is, but not in maybe the standard sense that you're used to. It's very rare that you'll ever be in the same location with somebody. It's possible, but exceedingly rare. And so you're more talking about where you are on this planet at any given time. Some people may say that's multiplayer solitaire, I'm out. That's fine if that's your experience. It has not been with mine. I've been able to really enjoy kind of like figuring out where other people are, seeing if it ties in any way with where I am, seeing if there's any kind of synergies, we're both talking to a sentient right now. Is there any kind of a connection there? That kind of stuff I find fascinating. It's one of those games that I'm mind-boggled that someone was able to pull this off. If I can use a couple of baseball analogies really quick, I know you like baseball, Tom. This game takes some big swings. Huge swings. It swings for the fences, and its hitting percentage is very high. I think that it took some huge risks, and I think that it pulled off some very audacious, design choices, and so I applaud that. And I love the exploration. I love the world. There are different artists in the game, but you wouldn't necessarily know it. It feels like a very cohesive aesthetic world, and that's enough for me. I'm going to be giving this a 9 out of 10. I love it.
I'll go next just to kind of offer a different perspective, right? And I want people to keep this in mind. Score-wise, I'm giving this one a 5 out of 10. And I'm not trying to be yuck anybody's yum.
Sure.
Right? I don't see myself coming back to this one. I am awe-inspired by how well-designed it is, how expansive in scope. Everything that Mike said about baseball is very applicable to this, right? Big swing, really trying something different. But I agree with all of that, but I don't find the fun in it. I find that I am playing, I've played at 3 players multiple times, and I find that I am playing a separate game from everybody else because it's kind of lucky whether you find that map or not, whether you get one of those opportunities to say, hey, have we figured out where each other are yet? Because we're just kind of playing our own game. Imagine, I'm going to make a baseball analogy, that the pitcher and the batter are playing one game, but the outfielders aren't allowed to catch the fly balls. They have to just play a game of catch, throwing a ball back and forth on their own. And then these guys are playing spin around the bat and try to do a straight race, but they're all in the same baseball field. They're all
Sounds like the Yankees, Chris. That sounds like the Yankees. Kidding.
Like, don't get us canceled.
And that's what it is. We're playing the same system, but unless you really put work into it, you're not going to figure out how. I'm never learning anything going, hey guys, I learned this cool factoid, and someone else goes, I'm benefiting from that. I'm going to jump in on that. We're just kind of playing our own games. that might get superseded as you play this more and more and more. I don't find the joy out of this system to put in that much effort to get to that point. I think it requires a lot of hours and a lot of effort. It is so inspiring. I'm impressed with it. I could never make something like this. Doesn't mean that I have to enjoy it, though. That's where I'm coming from with my 5 out of 10.
Okay, so I'm more in the middle. I'm coming in at a 6. I enjoy the game. And first of all, I think it's brilliant. I think a lot of things it does is great. And again, I think it fixes a lot of systems I've had with sandbox-style games in the past with its skill checks, with its organization. Big thing is for me is the randomness and you're just wandering around. And there are times when you play with several people, everyone else does their own journey. You know, you can you can interact with the dice, the skill check, things like that. But everyone else is like, oh, I found 15 quests. I haven't found anything yet. You know, so it's just where you are. There's that randomness that goes into it. I think it's fun. I think it's also what you're looking for in a game. I, for one, love sandbox. That's why I was so excited. I mean, Western Legends way up there. But most of the ones have a bit more rails. I say I don't want rails. This makes me realize I want a little bit of rails. You know, I want to kind of have some direction when I go through. Some people don't. Again, like I said, compared to Myst, I never played Myst as a kid because I was like, what's your point? You just wander around. And I was like, I'm out. But 90% of the world was like, I want that.
Well, not 90, but...
So anyway, I understand the brilliance of this. I love this system. I hope everything in this is put into future exploration games as far as skill checks and things.
Mike, what's that Orange Nebula game I don't like?
Unsettled.
Unsettled. Yeah, my problem with Unsettled was when this was a game, you land on an alien planet, and I was like, can I go look at that? And the game was like, you may not. Because if you go look at that, you will die. This game does not have that. I can go look at anything I want, and I like that. I think for me, where it comes down to is, I get it. Sometimes you want a big, focused story. But we have like 80 of those games. I don't need another one of those games. There's almost no games like Vantage that let me do anything I want. I couldn't do a top 10. There's that few of them. And so that's what I like about this. I get it. Some people, well, you guys aren't big fans, but I am. I enjoyed playing it. I've enjoyed every time. I don't care about the fact that other people are in different parts of the planet because A, I'm helping them with the dice, and B, we're like involved in each other's stories. You're climbing a tower and robbing some people. I'm over here playing some mini game. That person's over there, you know, going and trying to tame some massive whale, you know, and those, I'm interested in that because they're not too long. The stories are very short, so they don't get over boring. I'm like, oh, you know, here's 2 more paragraphs of text. They're very short. They're very succinct. And I'm amazed with how big it is. I flipped through some of the cards just because I was curious, you know, because I'm a cheater, and looked through some of the location cards, and I just can't believe how many I haven't seen. I think I've seen less than 5% of the game, and I played it multiple times. Yeah. So... honestly, this is what the review is. You can tell what kind of gamer you are, whether you'll like this or not. Some people are going to love it. I do. I also like that when I'm done, I'm done. It's not a campaign. We put it away. It's finished. I like that if you finish, you can still just keep playing. We did that one time where we won, and I was like, do we have to put it away? And everyone was like, nah, let's keep going. And we went around and discovered more stuff because we just didn't care. Mm-hmm. So... we'll see.
Wait, did you give a number?
9. Sorry, 9 out of 10. Okay. With the possibility of going up. This is one of my favorite games of the year, easily, and this is what I've been asking for a long time, a game that just lets me do what I want and also doesn't... it's easy. It's easy exploration. It's not hard. It's just fun. The hardest tests, I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I can do this, as opposed to some games where the easiest tests I go, I think we're going to die on turn 1.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. It's up to you, dear listener. Got to be careful not to jump all these cards. That's Vantage. Until next time, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Chris Yee.
I'm Joy Evans.
And I'm Mike DeLisio.
See y'all next time, you sentients.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.